about pieces of the puzzle. When you think about a puzzle, what do you usually have? You have little pieces, right? But then what are you putting those pieces on? Oh, and I'm going to be over here, and I'm going to be up there, so you guys can turn toward the board. If you can't see something, let me know. I'm going to be just writing basically what I'm saying, okay? So when you're putting the pieces for the puzzle together, you have to have a foundation, right? So, foundations. I'm going to write down those key words. Right? So we've got foundation. So my first question to you all is this. Who am I? I want you to both think about it and write down your response for who am I. I'm going to give you like a minute or two because I really want you to answer that question. Who am I? Not on the same page with your name. You're writing your name and you're tearing that out to give to me. For those who weren't there, write your name on a piece of that paper in the little notepad, tear it out, Miss Wanda is going to collect it, and at the end, that person will win that lovely prize right up in the front, and I'll tell you more about what's in it. Okay? So as we're talking about the question, who am I? Right? Has everyone started to write the who am I response? Okay. So that's your initial response. We're going to circle back at the end of this, okay? So we're going to circle back. When you think about who am I, people tend to tell you that they're going on a journey in life, right? They say, I'm going to go find myself. Personally, I've never been a supporter of the term finding yourself, because when you're trying to find yourself, you're going on an internal voyage somehow to hopefully find something by a chance. And to me, you need to be purposeful. So I support the word purpose over find. Okay? And purpose by its definition alone, I will go ahead and I'll read this to you. When you think about finding something, you're doing it by chance, hoping to come upon something. When you do something purposefully, you know that there is more meaning and more weight behind it. So you're living on purpose, and you know that you have a purpose, right? So remember that. You've got purpose. Okay? Purpose is stronger than finding. Now, what happens when you realize that you have a purpose and life is worth living, disregarding what you might have gone through in life? In life, like I said earlier, I struggled with different issues, not thinking I was good enough, thinking I was less than. When you have these in your mind, if they're unresolved, you grow up with them, right? You grow up and sometimes you end up in situations like that we saw earlier. Sometimes you don't end up in situations like that. You can look wildly successful, but on the inside, you're dealing with so much torment and torture, right? So now you've got to remember, or at least realize, and that's the next word I want you all to write down. You've got purpose, you've got realization. Hope you all can read that, But then you got realization, okay? So when you think of realization, the very definition of realization is to make something known as a fact. Think about it. If you are realizing something about your life, right? If you're thinking about where you've been, the circumstances that have happened to you, if it was an abusive relationship, or if it was absent parenthood, or if it was just you had both parents, but there are instances in which a parent may downgrade everything you do. Now, they might have an intention to make that be something that pushes you toward excellence. However, you as the child, you're not internalizing it that way. You just want mom and dad to say you're doing a great job. But instead, they're saying, okay, you got an 89, why couldn't you get a 90? Why couldn't you get 100? Now for them, that might be motivating, but for a child, it's like, am I not good enough for you at this moment? But this is where realization comes in. You begin to realize the purpose in your life, that you are worthwhile. Yes, there are things that you may not be great at, but it doesn't mean that you have to stop doing them. Because when you keep doing them, you start to cultivate an essence of who you are, and you start to make it better. And as you continue to do that, you realize you are now chasing your purpose, which is your passion. All right? So when you do that, you realize, and the next definition in realizing something, other than making it known as fact, is making something that was desired or planned to happen actually occur. You make it actually visible. So it's more than just, okay, this is who I am. You are now actually making something of purpose and matter in this world. Now we're talking about the effect that you have in society, in community, in your house. Many of us don't think that we have any effect in our own homes. At times you can feel like, your parents aren't listening, your siblings aren't listening, what you do doesn't matter. It really does, because at the end of the day, someone is looking at you. If it's not someone in the house, it's going to be a neighbor that's looking at you. But I guarantee you, someone in your home is looking at you. It could be that very person who's coming down the hardest on you, but it's because they're seeing the fact that no matter what you're facing at home, in your life, you keep bouncing back. And now you wonder, why am I bouncing back? I need y'all to say it.
Purpose.
Thank you. It's purpose. That's why you keep bouncing back. If you had no purpose, you would not have that fire in you. Sometimes you try to dampen the fire, but you know deep down, even if you've struggled with certain things in life, there's a little part of you that says, you have to keep going. Even when you say, I don't want to, there's nothing left. The fact that you're having that conversation is because purpose and realization are teaming up to try to get you to wake up. You have to keep going. So those pieces, part of the pieces include your past, but your past does not deserve your future. I need you to remember that. Your past. Use your past to propel you, but your past does not deserve your future, especially if it was a negative one. If it was one that hurt you, if it was one that told you you were less than, if it was one that told you that you had nothing to offer, that you deserved the abuse, that you deserved to be held back, that you deserved the environment that you were in, if the community that you're in doesn't seem, remember I'm using the word seem. Seem is a word that can trick you like nobody's business. Seem, I don't know, that might be too small, but you hear my big mouth. Seem, it does not mean it's a fact. It's something that appears to be so. So if your community seems to not have resources, you need to say, well, it doesn't seem like that's in my community. If you stop there, you've only done yourself a disservice and you're not chasing after your purpose. You need to then go out into the community and start asking questions. I don't care if you ask the man at the bodega, do you know if there is XYZ in this neighborhood? He might say, I don't know, or yes, someone came in here the other day. A place you can go is that bodega because there's so many people that stop by in it. He's got to have seen something. You start any which way you can. If you're on Instagram, if you're on your Facebook, your Twitter, there's location services. People are tagging every which way. Look up a hashtag. Instagram now has a way you can follow a hashtag. You want to find it? Look for the hashtag. Click follow that hashtag. You're now going to start seeing things that might not be in your neighborhood, but might be near to your neighborhood. So that seam is no longer there. So now you're adding the fact that that seam, it's not there. You can now add something to that purpose because now you're realizing you have an option. And when you got your options, baby, no one can stop you with those options as long as you hold on to that. Because remember, what did we say realizing was? Somebody. It's okay if you don't remember. I'll tell you again because I have no problem. Keep talking. If you remember this. Realizing not only means coming to knowing a fact. It means also bringing forth a desire within. And what you expect to happen, you are now materializing it. It has now become real. You are making it tangible. All right? It's not a magic trick. It's actual life. Hashtag facts. Okay? That's what realizing it is. I'm going to share with you some excerpts. I'm going to read some things in here that I want you to hold on to. All right? When you look into yourself to start this process of realizing, you're going to do what's called, well, I call it unearthing. I look at it as an archaeological dig. When an archaeologist goes to a country, a location, they have an idea of what it is they want to find. They're looking either for a treasure, a bone, or something. In this case, when you're looking deep within yourself, you're looking to find that treasure. That's what you're searching for. And the treasure, it doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, child, you can be 195 years old. And if you are, I need to know what you were doing to get to that age. Help a sister out. So, you know, it doesn't matter one bit. You are unearthing. And in order to unearth, you've got to start realizing some real things. And when you start doing that, it may not be pretty. There are some things you don't want to face, some things that are in the dark recesses of yourself that you don't want to come to light because you feel as if you would be naked. That's how I felt. I didn't know at that time that I was struggling with the fact that there was a feeling of abandonment. I didn't know what I was calling it. I was a child. I just knew that I had this chip on my shoulder. No one would know because I also internalize things. I keep it to myself quietly. But as I started to grow up, different little things started to manifest. I wrote poetry, right? So I'm a writer, as I said, blogger, CrystalSays.com and all of that. So I write poetry, but I started to realize all my poetry, the stuff that gets published, the things that people love, all of that, the only way I could write it, it was born out of deep pain or if I was in a depressed state. That is when everything seemed to flow. And it didn't make sense to me. I said, well, why in the world, when I'm in pain, the best things come forth? And in your mind at that time, you can do two things. Decide you're not going to do that anymore, or say, well, hey, this works for me, I'm going to make it keep going and stay in the path of pain. Option two is not an option you should choose. Right. At that time, I said, well, let me try when I'm happy. I waited for moments where I felt overjoyed to try and write poetry. It was horrible. It was horrible. I felt like there was no creativity. There was nothing there. The words were not flowing. They weren't eloquent. None of it. And I said, well, God, why is it when I'm really happy, I cannot write poetry that moves the soul? What is that? And it's only now that I realize the reason why I couldn't write when I was happy is because I'm supposed to be speaking. I'm supposed to actually be audible. Because at that point, when you're really happy, what do you want to do? You want to shout things from the rooftops, right? You want to talk to people. Now, don't give me do you want to shout it from the rooftops? Tell them. Yes. Yes, you want to shout it from the rooftops, and that's the reason why I could not write it down. When I was in pain, I needed to write it to get it out. Push it to the side. It could have been eloquent all it wants to. The happy moments, that's what I needed to share. That's part of the journey, part of the pieces that brought me here. I could have used how I felt, like I was worth nothing. I could have used the times where I wanted to take my own life. I could have used those times and let it encapsulate me to propel me to where I wanted to be, but who knows where I could have been or if I would have been here at all. God had a whole other plan. Like in Jeremiah 29:11, God says, I know the plans I have for you. He says a hope and a future. God does not give, a purpose to a person he has no future for. Right. If you are born, there is a purpose. We may not always understand the purpose, but you have a purpose and you have the responsibility, not even for your own self, but you have the responsibility to live out your purpose. Because our lives here do not only affect us, clearly they affect other people. Because if we realize we have issues, someone else's life was affecting us. So you now have the responsibility to counteract that. So you would be selfish to think you have nothing to offer. The fact that you're in this room, you have something, you have everything to offer. Even a little one right there, you have something to offer. And that's part of purpose and realizing who you are. So you've got to dig deep down and get some of those ugly issues. With me, the abandonment, I started, well, I'm really going to give you guys all my business, huh? Okay, so I started being attracted to men or boys at that time, because I was younger, to those who did not give me any type of attention whatsoever. It was only as I became a woman I realized, wait a minute, I was chasing what I've known, the void. I was chasing the void. But I needed a manifestation of the void, and that were the men that I was attracted to. That was the men that I was attracted to, the voids. So I realized that again, the future does not deserve, that the past does not deserve my future. I had to let that go. As painful as that felt, and as uncomfortable and naked as it feels to realize, okay, this is who I was. Who I was, I ask you guys that question. Who am I? My response, being real and open and honest with you all, if I had to answer that question before I came to realization, I would have said, I'm no one special, I am one who is forgotten. That would have been my answer. Is that who I am? No, that's who I thought I was. I need to hear someone volunteer. This is a safe space. It's all good. Someone volunteer. What was your response to that question? Who am I? Before you walked in, we asked the question, who am I, to write it down. So, anyone volunteering? Okay, hold up, let's go.
My mouth is big enough, I don't need a mic.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah, positive. So I said, I am Shara. I am a beautiful black woman, mother, wife, sister, friend, who is spiritually blessed.
That's beautiful. All right. I love that answer. Sadly, not everyone can give that answer. I'm glad, because it's taken me years to get close to your answer.
Me too.
And you too. See, pieces of the puzzle, sister in the journey. That's what this is all about. Pieces of the puzzle. Everything that you're facing and everything that's happened to you, in some way, shape, or form, let's be real. We've all asked when something bad has happened, if it's our health. This month is also breast cancer awareness, okay? So there's something that's happened in our life, and at some point, if you guys leave me here out on a limb by myself, I'll know somebody's not telling the truth. We've asked the question, why me? Or why did this happen? Right? And so being real, we've asked that question. We don't know why, but that's a piece. Don't make me draw a puzzle piece, y'all. I don't know what it's going to look like. But that's a piece that's going to fit into the puzzle, in the foundation for the whole big picture that comes together at the end. We may not ever see what that whole picture looks like, but trust and believe you need to be active in putting that puzzle together. And you putting that puzzle together is you recognizing that you have a worth. And today may be day 1 of recognizing it, or today may be day 15,000 of you getting there and owning the fact that what you faced and what you're currently in right now cannot possibly hold you back from the future that can be yours. All right? All right, so I told you guys I'm going to share some stuff, and let me flip to it right now. What we talked about just now was called, what I called the, running out of space here, I write large. I call it the knowing factor. right? So after you've known that about yourself, when you come with a fact, you can then act on it, right? You can then have, let's see, when we're in school, they make us draw, the diagram, and you have to have all your little points, and everything here is something we'll call the fact, right? And so once you've known that fact about yourself, you can start putting out here on your little diagram steps so that you can start living out toward what you may think or know is your purpose. Now, finding your purpose can be a little tricky at times because you don't know. It's more than just a hobby. You can like to do something, but it may not be your purpose. It could be a tool used within your purpose. If you told me that I'd be standing here talking to you, I know a couple of people who would not have believed it because this lovely lady right there is my mama. I was under her, quiet, did not want to talk to anyone. You said hello to me. I was like, hi, can we go now? And now here I am talking to all of you. It was not what I thought would have been a purpose of mine. As a matter of fact, I thought maybe I'd be a teacher, but then I saw what the kids were doing to the teacher that we had, and I said, I don't know if I want to go there. I don't know. God bless the teachers. There were different things along my journey that I thought I wanted to do. Even law, because I knew what I knew, part of my knowing factor. And in line with this domestic abuse month, part of my knowing factor was this, and a little piece of the puzzle that wasn't even personal to me, but it affected me. A family member of mine was domestically abused while driving me to school with a cousin of mine. And it was the first time I'd ever seen that. I was around maybe 6 years old, and there was nothing that I could do about it. I was scared. I'm in a moving car, and this person is being beaten as they drive. It wasn't a red light. It was active traffic. We are driving, and she is being beaten, and I'm sitting there helpless. That's a piece that adds to why I do what I do now. That's a piece to why Her Spark Incorporated exists. Our motto is to restore, inspire, and empower, regardless of what you have been through in your life, regardless of what you are in right now, regardless of your circumstance, your community, regardless of all of it. That is why we are there. I remember telling myself at that age, before I stepped out of the car, not on my watch. When I get bigger, I'm going to do something. And it was from that age, in school, you can ask some of the older boys there, they said that I was a bully. I wasn't a bully. I was not a bully because I was against bullying. I was closer to, I don't know, have you guys watched Black Lightning? I don't know. Okay, I was more so that person. I saw it happening in my view, and I said, there's no way in the world I can let another girl, especially my age, let a boy our age beat her or misuse her body in the stairwell. I knew of girls doing that. I knew of at least one girl who would let the boys heat up their ballpoint pens on wooden surfaces to burn her down her arm because it was the only way she could get their attention. I said, not on my watch. I had to find a way to talk to her. Again, pieces of the puzzle for my purpose. I didn't know this is where I would be. But I still used all of that to get me here. Known to me? No. I just kept being. And I just kept saying, I'm going to keep going and doing it. And every time I saw something that was close to making a woman think she was less than she was, I remembered the scene. The scenes would flash back of my family member being beaten in front of me. And that ignites me every single time. It's fresh in my memory today. I never talk about it with them. It's almost like it never happened with them. However, it's fresh in my mind. And it's the reason why I do what I do. Now, for guys, I have seen, and it hurts my feelings that there are many men out there who think that if they report being humiliated or spoken to in a negative way, that emotional abuse is real for men. And women do it, their parents do it, and if they speak up, they say, oh, you're not being a man, you need to man up. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing unmanly about this man or this boy standing up and saying, you're going to talk to me differently. That right there is the essence of manhood, telling you, I am a human being, you will respect me. I am respecting you. That is how we carry on this relationship. Whether it's a love relationship or parental. Sometimes you might want to be a little careful because, I don't know, the parent. Some parents might want to backhand you real quick. So pick your words. Pick your words carefully. Okay? That's what you want to do. But, as I said, foundation, purpose, realization, the knowing factor. And just a couple more things I want you to do. In here, the notepads that I gave you, that's step 1. So with that, I need you guys to keep these notepads. You can get bigger ones, and I hope you do. These notepads are not to be a diary. They are to start the foundational process of you starting to unearth some things. In these notepads, you are going to write down the things you find or realize about yourself. The things you may have disliked, or the things that you feel are negative that have brought you to the place and space on the inside that you feel right at this moment. This is what you're going to start doing. Do not number them. Do not hold them against yourself because it's out of your control. But you're going to... Sorry about that.
Sorry.
It's okay. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to write that down and keep that with yourself because that's part of the process in realizing it and the knowing factor. The last thing I want to tell you is this. The last thing I want to tell you, as soon as I get it, is remembering that when you do this and when you go on that journey, that part of your life, when you go on that part of your life, you need to remember that that's not the only part of your life that's there. It's part of the puzzle. So when you get toward the middle or the centers, that right there is what you're going to use to build you up to be where you need to be. And if there are things that are negative behaviors, because there are things that will be negative behaviors, and you know they're negative if you think about them daily or they daily affect your behavior, your thoughts, or what have you, and then you feel guilty after you do them or you wish you could stop doing them, these are the negative things in your life. You need to write them down so you can realize them. And once you have that, you can then start an action plan on how you can change your life and how you can go about your life. Now, these are my information spots right here on Instagram. I am official_CrystalSays and Her Spark Inc. And then there's the Let's Chat podcast on Twitter. I'm Crystal Says a Lot, as you can see. So you can reach out to me there. We also have email at info@herspark.org. You can email there, and if you need resources, I can help you connect to whatever resources you might need. If I don't have the connection, I will find the connection, because that's part of community. We will do it together. You are not alone. Not alone. So all those names were already handed in? They're already handed in? Okay, so what I'm going to do here, this right here is a prize to help you get started on your journey all together. So I'm going to shake it up, but I need somebody to pick it up, to pick out a name.
Oops, sorry, I messed up a little.
All right. You coming? Okay. Close your eyes and just pick something. One. All right. What's the name on there? Ermac. It's you. Yay. Okay, so here you go. And even though the bag is pretty, everything in here can be used by male or female. And I need you to promise me you're going to use this to chase your purpose.
Wait.
I will.
Wait.
You will?
Let me get a picture.
Thank you.
Wait, let me get a picture. Photo out. Photo out. Turn it out.
So he promised
Crystal,
to use
Crystal,
it.
stand next to him, sir.
He promised to use it. Here you go.
Hoodie on, hoodie off.
Whatever you want to do. Right now, Armand, it's your world. It's your world. So you're going to use this to chase your purpose.
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
Nice.
All right.
Let me get you over there by your board.
Okay.
Nice.
But thank
I
you.
can shut it off now?